Explain like I'm 5. Do you really waste water? Is it more of a water bill thing? Or do you actually affect the water supply? Long showers, dishwashers, etc. You impact the amount of water that's been treated and ready for general use by humans. It'll come back around eventually after a bunch of money is spent on treating it again. Your local water treatment plant has only so much capacity to produce clean water. If everyone uses a lot, the city-county will have to build a bigger water treatment plant, which costs money. Tax money. Your tax money. That's why they ask you not to waste water. So you don't have to pay for a new, larger water treatment plant. In the grand scheme of things, not really. It goes back to the water cycle of this planet. What you're really wasting is the time, energy, and resources to treat, process, clean, move the water, which is still something. You don't really waste water, as it all ends up back in the cycle eventually. What you are really wasting is clean and safe water. There are costs and capacity issues with obtaining water, as you don't want to be drinking water that's been flushed through someone's toilet. Some water sources are also being drained faster than they are refilling, such as underground aquifers, which take thousands of years to refill, or the Colorado River, which is having more water taken out than flow into it. Cadillac Desert is a fantastic book that covers the water issues in the western US if you're interested in learning more. It depends on where you live. I live in Ohio. Average rainfall where I live 45 inches per year. We have Lake Erie to the north and the Ohio River to the south. The water I drink comes from wells in the Miami Valley Aquifer. It is high quality and requires almost no treatment. The biggest cost is pumping it. Taking a long shower does not really waste any resources where I live. Also, my wastewater goes into a septic system, so there is no usage of resources there. Well, from a physics standpoint, matter is cyclical, while energy use is one way, can't get it back. You could say water isn't wasted. But in more practical terms, really it's about the energy that goes into treating it. You letting the faucet run is wasteful because it isn't useful and it puts a strain on resources it wouldn't otherwise need to be. In most cases, what you waste is clean water, and the energy and other resources required to make that clean water. There are some exceptions in deserts and such, but mostly if you live in a place that has plenty of rain, you're wasting the energy involved. What do you call 1 million gallons of fresh water with 2 gallons of sewage? Sewage. All 1 million gallons has to go to wastewater treatment. That's how you waste water. Household water usage ultimately ends up back in the watershed. It is not entirely wasted, but does take energy to treat and send to your house. Agricultural water and water for lawns and other outdoor applications do in fact waste water. California's entire agricultural system is based on enormous well water usage to grow water-intensive crops in a desert. Perhaps desalination efforts could help reduce strain on watersheds. But it would cost quite a lot. I'd be willing it would cost less than losing all of California's farmland when the aquifer dries up. Though, do you really waste water? No. You waste other things, like energy. Side point: dishwashers are more energy water efficient than hand-washing dishes. Since you mentioned it, dishwashers use very little water. You can hear how long they run the water before starting the cycle. It's about as long as you would run it to wash 2 dishes. And they do that 2 or 3 times per cycle. So they're washing dozens of dishes and only using as much water as you would to hand wash 6 or 7. You're not really wasting water. You're more wasting the resources that treated the water and sent it to your home. Edit: the above does not apply to areas affected by drought. Don't forget it takes hundreds of gallons of water per item to simply make clothing. Keep this in mind when clothes shopping. Try to do resale. People gonna be committing violence over water as potable supplies decrease in the next 20 years. Get used to rationing it. Someone may have mentioned this, but dishwashers actually use much less water than hand washing, generally speaking. Absolutely. While water recirculates, fresh water, and specifically your local water source, is not infinite. The water you pull from a river, lake, or aquifer drains into a river that feeds into the ocean, where it becomes salty and undrinkable. It will go through the water cycle and come back down as rain. But if you're consuming more from your local water source than is fed into via natural processes, it's going to run dry. The amount of fresh water is limited by the replacement capability of rain and snowfall. Wasting water puts a dent in what's available overall. While individuals using lots of water to keep monoculture lawns hydrated has an appreciable impact, the big users are industry and agriculture. Being told to take short showers or not play in the water is a strategy by big business to make us think we are the problem. Same goes for fossil fuels. We could electrify all we want, but the problem doesn't go away unless industries change how they get power. In Australia, we've had water-saving restrictions for decades now, IARC. Because we literally don't have enough water, and letting it just run down the drain unnecessarily is a waste as far as treated, potable water that people can drink and cook with goes. It's a Kantian sort of thing. If you do it, it doesn't matter. If everyone does it, it matters. So you don't do it in order to be part of the bulk of people who don't, in the hopes you can balance out that who do. We call this being responsible. You waste water in terms of the water is a product produced from raw water and labor of people. You don't waste the water in terms of now there's not enough to go around unless you live in an area where replenishment isn't outpacing use. If you're on a well also, the water isn't really being treated, so not sure about you wasting it. Water-deprived states seething and coping and making us feel bad for utilizing our plentiful abundance of water. I think it should be illegal for them to point fingers at us. If they can't meet the water demands of their population, they simply need to forcefully reduce their population by making their states less desirable to live in. It's a them problem, not a me problem. Think of a river basin. A certain amount of rain falls on it each year. A certain amount can be easily collected. Use it all to keep a golf course in the middle of the desert green. Or for a Nestle's bottled water plant, and there's none left for everyone else. No. And if you only knew how much water was wasted by giant companies. This question is a joke compared to what multi-billion-dollar corporations waste. Using pump to water the garden increases water bill. That's why I use the rainwater to water open mouth smile the lawn and the small garden 400 meters too. Depends where you live. If the place you live in has lots of rain and lots of too much water, using a lot of water only means you have less money for toys. If the place you live in does not have much water and the water you waste comes from deep under the ground and it gets less and less, you wasting water makes the animals and plants very sad. You waste water for human use, but has no impact on world use. Some microbe will find benefit in the water you waste.